We live in interesting times.
For the headlines.
The Pentagon said Chinese bombers are likely training for strikes against U.S. and allied targets in the Pacific.
Troop reinforcements stepped up desperate rescue attempts in India's flood-stricken Kerala state after more than 100 bodies were found in a day and a half, taking the crisis death toll to at least 164.
Aretha Franklin, the music icon, legendary singer, and queen of soul, loved by millions, whose history-making career spanned 6 decades, dies at age 76.
And a study says middle-aged people who get roughly half their daily calories from carbohydrates live several years longer on average than those with meat-heavy, low-carb diets.
I'm Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
We welcome our viewers here in the Philippines and around the world. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sam Cepeda.
And now to the news. First off, a Chinese passenger jet slid off the runway as it landed at Manila International Airport in torrential rain, with all 165 people on board safely evacuated. The Xiamen Airlines aircraft, carrying 157 passengers and 8 crew, landed on its second attempt before skidding onto the grass and ripping off its left engine. Airport General Manager Ed Monreal said 4 people suffered superficial scratches as they evacuated the Boeing 737-800 jet, which had flown to the Philippine capital from Xiamen in southeast China. Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines spokesman Eric Apolonio earlier said the incident occurred in heavy rain and passengers and crew used an emergency chute to leave the aircraft. Chinese state news agency Xinhua reported the plane circled the airport for an hour before attempting to land. The aircraft is still resting on its belly near the end of the airport's main runway, where it came to a stop after the accident, which occurred late on Thursday evening. Aviation authorities have closed the airport's main runway until 4 p.m., forcing some airlines to cancel, delay, or reroute flights. The runway for smaller aircraft remained open, but the authorities said the accident has delayed thousands of passengers, including holidaymakers traveling ahead of a long weekend. And now an investigation is underway.
Chinese bombers are likely training for strikes against U.S. and allied targets in the Pacific, according to a new Pentagon report that also details how Beijing is transforming its ground forces to fight and win. The annual report to Congress released Thursday highlights China's growing military, economic, and diplomatic clout and how Beijing is leveraging this to rapidly build its international footprint and establish regional dominance. In the case of China's air power, the report states that Chinese bombers are developing capabilities to hit targets as far from China as possible. Over the last 3 years, the PLA, or People's Liberation Army, has rapidly expanded its overwater bomber operating areas, gaining experience in critical maritime regions and likely training for strikes against U.S. and allied targets, the document states, noting how China is pushing its operations out into the Pacific. In August 2017, 6 Chinese H-6K bombers flew through Miyako Strait in the southwest of the Japanese islands and then, for the first time, turned north to fly east of Okinawa, where 47,000 U.S. troops are based. The PLA may demonstrate the capability to strike U.S. and allied forces and military bases in the western Pacific Ocean, including Guam, and the report says. China is engaged in a decade-long buildup and modernization of its once backward armed forces, and military leaders have set a goal of fielding a world-class military by 2050. President Xi Jinping last year ordered the PLA to step up efforts, saying China needed a military ready to fight and win wars. The call has alarmed China's neighbors, several of whom are embroiled in tense border disputes with the superpower. According to the Pentagon, the PLA in April 2017 undertook a massive transformation of operational and tactical units as part of its structural reforms. With nearly 1 million troops, the PLA is the largest standing ground force in the world.
To other news now, a military parade ordered by U.S. President Trump for later this year has been postponed until at least 2019, according to a defense official. Following reports, the cost had soared to over $90 million. The idea had been popular among many Americans, but drew scorn from critics who said it would be a waste of money and was akin to events organized by authoritarian regimes. When the White House in February announced the commander-in-chief's desire to hold the parade in Washington, the budget director said it would cost between 10 to 30 million US dollars. But a U.S. official told AFP earlier Thursday the planning estimate had now gone up as high as 92 million US dollars, though no final figure has been reached. The request for the event came after Trump's visit to France in July of 2017, where he was hosted with great fanfare by French President Emmanuel Macron. Sitting on the Champs-Élysées during the Bastille Day parade, the American president had marveled at the Republican Guard on horseback and jets flying overhead.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un attacked hostile forces over brigandish sanctions, state media reported Friday, as Washington seeks to maintain pressure on Pyongyang over its nuclear program. Kim and U.S. President Donald Trump held a groundbreaking summit in Singapore in June, which the U.S. leader touted as a historic breakthrough. But there has been little movement since, and the North has criticized Washington for its gangster-like demands for complete, verifiable, and irreversible disarmament. The U.S. has urged the international community to maintain tough sanctions on the isolated regime, and the U.S. Treasury this week announced measures against Russian and Chinese companies for violations. On a visit to the construction site of the Wonsan Kalma coastal tourist area, Kim rebuked that he called hostile forces for trying to stifle the Korean people through brigandish sanctions and blockade, the Korean Central News Agency reported, or KCNA. But Pyongyang is keen to preserve what it calls a new era of relations with the U.S., and Kim stopped short of criticizing the country by name. Wonsan Kalma is a vast development of the northeast coast, which Kim ordered to be ready by October 10 next year, an important public holiday which marks the founding of a precursor to the ruling Workers' Party of Korea.
In other news, a spate of bloody killings is fueling unease in the Rohingya camps on the Bangladesh-Myanmar border, where overstretched police are struggling to protect nearly 1 million traumatized refugees from violent gangs. Just 1,000 police officers guard the labyrinth shanties that make up the giant camps, and authorities want to more than double the force in the wake of the murders. 3 respected community leaders are among those slain in what police suspect is a power struggle between Rohingya gangs in the refugee slums and camps around Cox's Bazar.
Increasing police number is not helpful for us. Just helpful is if we call to come on time.
One Arifullah was stabbed 25 times on a busy road in June and left in a pool of blood. The other two were killed in their shacks just days apart by masked assailants. Police in the crime-ridden Cox's Bazar district are investigating 21 refugee murders, many in recent months, which they blame on score settling and turf wars. Many in Katupalong, the world's biggest refugee camp, and others nearby say the unchecked violence leaves Rohingya families at the mercy of criminals. Aid groups are installing floodlights to improve safety, especially for women, and police checkposts are planned for vulnerable areas of the dense slums. But Mohibullah, an influential Rohingya leader, said policing such ghetto-like conditions was difficult and crime was inevitable.
Increasing police number is not helpful for us. Just helpful is if we call to come on time.
A year after a jihadist rampage in Catalonia killed 16 people, Spain paid homage to the victims Friday without managing to set aside bitter divisions over the region's independence. Families of the victims had called for a truce in the political row over Catalonia's failed secessionist drive last October, which quickly overshadowed the bloody attacks that shook Spain. But right above the spot on Barcelona's famous Las Ramblas Boulevard, where a van came to a stop after plowing into and killing 14 pedestrians on August 14, 2017, or that's August 17, 2017, separatist activists unraveled a banner reading "Free political prisoners. Without them, this ceremony is a scam." Further up the road on the Central Plaza Catalunya, another large banner hung from a building reading in English, "The Spanish king is not welcome in the Catalan countries," with an upside-down picture of the monarch who took a hardline stance against the secession bid. King Felipe VI, his wife Queen Letizia, and Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez joined families of the victims on that very plaza for an emotional commemoration to cries of "Long live the King" and "Long live Spain" by pro-unity onlookers. A year ago, tourist locals in Barcelona were enjoying yet another sunny day in the city, perusing the many flower stands that line Las Ramblas. But around 4:30 p.m., everything changed. Younes Abu Yaqub, a 22-year-old Moroccan man, drove his van into the crowds, killing 14 people, including 2 children aged 3 and 7. Abu Yaqub fled, stabbing to death a young man before stealing his car. Hours later, a car carrying 5 of his accomplices sped into the seaside resort of Cambrils, some 120 kilometers south of Barcelona. The 5 occupants of the Audi A3 jumped out and went on a stabbing spree, killing a woman before they were shot dead by police. Even then, at a defiant gathering against the attacks days after they happened, the king was jeered by supporters of independence. On Friday, separatist organizations staged their own commemorative marches to avoid being with the monarch.
Now, from that report, on August 17 last year, a van rammed into crowds on Las Ramblas Boulevard in the heart of Barcelona, igniting 4 days of terror, which investigators are still trying to explain and the survivors to overcome. Take a look.
First in Barcelona, on Las Ramblas, the most popular boulevard in the city. Then, a few hours later, in Cambrils, a Catalan seaside resort. A year ago, a group of jihadists carried out 2 attacks using vehicles to mow down pedestrians. The toll, 16 dead and over 100 injured. Behind the carnage, a group of young men aged 17 to 28 of Moroccan origin. Many of them had grown up in Ripoll, a small town of 10,600 inhabitants, nestled in the Pyrenees.
The truth is that they're all from here. I knew them since they were children. They went to school with my children. It is hard. It is hard to know how their mentality could be changed so much.
The investigation focused on the key role played by former Ripoll Imam Abdelsaki Essati, who died during the preparation of the attacks. After spending time in prison for drug trafficking, he indoctrinated young people from this mosque. The men spoke fluent Catalan, worked, and even belonged to local sports clubs.
Esta radicalización pasó por alto.
This radicalization was missed even in their most intimate circles. So, if in their closest circles with people they live 24 hours a day, or in their most intimate private lives it's overlooked, it will hardly be detected by the police.
Pasa por alto, claro, difícilmente va a ser detectado por la policía.
Investigators are still trying to establish if this cell, including 3 surviving members who are in prison awaiting their trial, had direct links with the Islamic State group, which claimed responsibility for their actions.
A day after a suspected terror attack in London's Parliament Square, tourists and locals are back in force, with many not concerned by additional security measures. Watch this.
I don't feel any less safe. I guess I feel more safe even because now that there has been an attack, that people will try to make it even more safe and there will be more guards.
We've just been to changing of the guards, there was loads of people there, and that's what London thrives on, people coming out, and if we close the streets then they've won, haven't they? They've got what they wanted, which is to stop people going out and enjoying their lives.
Londres ou Paris, c'est pareil, hein. Il y a des attentats partout aujourd'hui, il ne faut pas y penser, sinon on s'arrête de vivre.
Hundreds of Google employees have signed a protest letter over the company's reported work on a censor-friendly search engine to get back into China, according to the New York Times. The employees are demanding more transparency so they can understand the moral implications of their work, according to the Times, which obtained a copy of the letter. It has been signed by 1,400 employees and is circulating on the company's internal communication system. The letter argues that the search engine project and Google's apparent willingness to accept China's censorship requirements, quote, raise urgent moral and ethical issues. Employee anger flared with a report this month in The Intercept that Google is secretly building a search engine that will filter content banned in China and thus meet Beijing's tough censorship rules. Google withdrew its search engine from China 8 years ago due to censorship and hacking. The new project is said to be codenamed Dragonfly. The platform, which still requires Chinese government approval, would block certain websites and search terms like human rights and religion. Now, this has angered some employees who feared they have been unwittingly working on technology that will help China suppress free expression. It's not the first time Google employees have spoken out against the company's decisions. In April, thousands of staff criticized its work on a U.S. military program developing artificial intelligence for drones. Google has since ended its AI contract with the Pentagon.
Aretha Franklin, the music icon, legendary singer and queen of soul, loved by millions whose history-making career spanned 6 decades, died at her Detroit home on Thursday. She was 76.
so many places in my life and time.
She influenced generations of female singers with unforgettable hits including Respect 1967, Natural Woman 1968, and I Say a Little Prayer, that's 1968. The multiple Grammy winner cemented her place in U.S. music history with a powerful, bell-clear voice that stretched over 4 octaves in a career crossing generations. Her hits spanned from soul and R, rhythm and blues to gospel and pop. After a long battle with pancreatic cancer, Franklin passed away at 9:30 a.m. surrounded by her family and loved ones, her family said in a statement issued by her publicist. In 1987, she became the first woman ever inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. In 2010, Rolling Stone magazine put her at the top of its list of the 100 greatest singers of all time, male or female. She performed at the inaugurations of President Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, singing My Country, 'Tis of Thee, at the investiture of the country's first African-American head of state. In a heartfelt tribute from the Obamas, the former president and his wife Michelle praised Franklin's unmatched musicianship, which they said helped define the American experience. And she sang, "We were all graced with a glimpse of the divine," the Obama said in a statement. In her voice, we could feel our history, all of it and in every shade, our power and our pain, our darkness and our light, our quest for redemption and our hard-won respect. She helped us feel more connected to each other, more hopeful, more human. As President Donald Trump called the singer terrific, saying she brought a joy to millions of lives and her extraordinary legacy will thrive and inspire many generations to come. Fans mourning the death of Franklin left balloons, flowers, and mementos on Franklin's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Clinton and his wife, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, on Thursday hailed her as one of America's greatest national treasures. Singers and musicians quickly flooded social media in mourning her passing, which came on the same day that fellow U.S. music giant Elvis Presley died at his home in Memphis, the city where Franklin was born 41 years ago. Paul McCartney called Franklin an inspiration and the queen of our souls, while Diana Ross hailed her as wonderful golden spirit. In 2005, Franklin was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest award for an American civilian, by then-President George W. Bush. In 2010, she suffered serious health problems, but continued to perform until late last year, singing last in November 2017 for the Elton John AIDS Foundation in New York. That same year, Detroit named a street after her.
Eagle News International will be right back. Welcome back. The UAE launched a landmark 3-month visa amnesty program which will benefit hundreds of illegal foreign workers overstaying their permits by allowing them to leave the country without penalties and giving them 6 months to find a job. Christine Ara Martino reports.
Government of the UAE launched the amnesty for people who is illegal residents in the UAE. People are able to leave the country without fine under 3 months, starts from August 1 to October 31. Anyone who has overstayed their work visas or residency permits are included for this amnesty. The duration of this is 3 months and it runs August 1 to October 31. The illegal resident can apply for amnesty, however, they need to visit the different immigration centers including in Al Shahama in Abu Dhabi and Al Wir in Dubai. For those who entered the country illegally, instructed to leave and banned from returning for 2 years. Anyone with criminal cases against them or have been previously banned from obtaining visa is not eligible.
Alam ko po marami pong mga kababayan natin na matutulungan. So itong opportunity na to na mabigyan sila ng solusyon sa kanilang mga problema, lalo-lalo na sa visa, ay maisakatuparan po. Kasi po, especially po yung mga kababayan natin na gusto nang umuwi, masosolve na yung problema nila. At saka yun din pong mga kababayan din natin na gusto pang magpatuloy dito. So magandang opportunity po to at masaya po ako para sa binigay nila po na ganito po.
From Middle East Bureau, I'm Christine Ara Martino and I am 1 with 25.
Asian markets opened higher Friday after a positive lead from Wall Street and Europe, with investors cautiously optimistic about upcoming U.S.-China trade talks. Negotiators from Washington and Beijing will meet later this month in the first publicly announced meeting in weeks on their bitter trade dispute, which has seen both sides impose reciprocal tariffs on goods worth $34 billion. The news helped global markets regain composure after several days of volatility induced by Turkey's financial crisis and fears that its troubles could infect other economies. Tokyo has rose 0.5%, Hong Kong added 0.4%, and Shanghai edged up 0.1% in early Asian trade. Despite the boost, analysts have said a quick resolution of the trade spat between the world's top 2 economies is unlikely, with more U.S. tariffs in the works on further Chinese goods. Markets were cautiously optimistic about prospects of resolving the trade war after Beijing announced it would send a representative to Washington, although Rodrigo Catril of National Australia Bank noted the relatively low rank of the negotiators meant a reaction was guarded. Fears also remain about Turkey's financial crisis, despite the recent stabilization of the lira after Washington warned that it would levy more economic sanctions on Ankara if it did not release a jailed American pastor.
Transport and Logistics Philippines opened its 6th edition with an exciting lineup of trucks, commercial vehicles, automotive parts, and supply chain solutions at the World Trade Center, Metro Manila. The show will be open from August 16 to the 18th, 10 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. daily. It's held back-to-back with Transport and Logistics Philippines Show, or held back-to-back with the Transport Philippines and Logistics Show. It's a showcase also of the leading international manufacturers of auto aftermarket parts and accessories, entitled Auto Mechanic Philippines. This is held alongside the Transport and Logistics Philippines and Auto Mechanic Philippines, the China Machinery and Electronic Brand Show, the Systems Integration Philippines, co-located with TOPS Corporate Gifts Expo, Digital Electronics World, EduTech World Expo, Palm Philippines Science and Media World Expo, and ComWorld, and the newest showcase for digital security and automation, the Global Security Expo located at the SMX Convention Center. The expo features the Transport and Logistics Forum, a one-day activity that intends to tackle topics such as policies, trends, and best practices which are crucial for the industry's future. This year's forum also focuses on the relevance of the Build, Build, Build program to the sector, covering topics such as BBB towards a strong transport and logistics industry, paving way for an efficient logistics sector, National Logistics Master Plan in action, regulatory reform initiatives of PPA, and more.
This is the second time that we organize the Transport and Logistics Forum. It has been a great success so far last year and the more this year, and we hope to continue this in the next years as well.
This show just focus on some kind of products. For example, the power equipment, the engineering or construction machinery, like the vehicles used in the construction. This kind of products in Philippine market, this kind of products need.
Well, the firearms here that we offer is actually we try to focus on the security, like security agencies, and also the police officer to provide them security and defense for their protection. Caravan here for people who want to have to get the license to own a firearm, which the Associated Firearms and Dealers of the Philippines, with coordination with PNP, we brought the caravan here to the show.
The U.S. warned it would levy more sanctions on the troubled Turkish economy if Ankara does not soon release a jailed American pastor described by President Donald Trump as a hostage. Deepening a spat that has rattled financial markets and threatened to split a long-standing defense and political alliance, Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin suggested the next spiral of tit-for-tat sanctions was coming soon. The threat comes as Turkey sought to reassure investors rattled by the sanctions-fueled crash of the Turkish lira, insisting the country would emerge stronger. Finance Minister Berat Albayrak, the son-in-law of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, addressed hundreds of foreign investors from the United States, Europe, and Asia via a conference call in a bid to soothe the markets. The lira has clawed back some ground over the last 2 days after losing almost a quarter of its value on Friday and Monday, but economists are warning that Turkey must urgently address its economic imbalances to avoid more troubles ahead.
New York University said it would offer all its current and future medical school students free tuition in an effort to tackle soaring debt levels and encourage more applicants. The move, which it said was financed by the generosity of the university's trustees, alumni, and friends, amounts to a reduction of $55,018 in annual fees regardless of financial needs or academic merit. It doesn't cover living and administrative costs, averaging $27,000 a year. In its statement, NYU also pointed out that high student debt was putting, or the NYU also pointed out that high student debt was putting graduates off pursuing less lucrative specializations, including pediatrics and obstetrics and gynecology. NYU School of Medicine made a surprise announcement at its annual white coat ceremony on Thursday, when new students receive a white lab coat as they begin their studies. Dr. Robert Grossman said that aspiring physicians and surgeons should not be prevented from pursuing a career in medicine because of the prospect of overwhelming financial debt. NYU thanked more than 2,500 supporters who helped bring the scheme to fruition. NYU said it's the only top 10 ranked medical school in the U.S. to offer such an initiative. All right, we'll head on for another break. Eagle News International, we'll be right back.
A world that recaptures the value of life, creating your moments, kindling your passion, worth reliving over and over. This is your world, your life, your garden.
Wildfires in Canada are worsening already, scorching temperatures in Alberta. Thomas Likeness tells us more.
On a day like today, with temperatures in the low to mid-30s, this reflecting pool in front of the Alberta Legislature would normally be packed. But forest fires from a neighboring province, British Columbia, have driven people indoors. Environment Canada issued heat and smoke warnings as winds blew in the smoke from fires several hundred kilometers away. People with breathing difficulties have been told to stay indoors, and many parents are not letting their children play outside. For several weeks now, temperatures have been above seasonal normals in Western Canada. While many say this is preferable to the minus 30-degree temperatures we suffer in the winter, others are having trouble coping. Alberta Health is telling people to drink plenty of water, reschedule their outdoor activities to a cooler part of the day, and to watch out for symptoms of heat stroke or heat exhaustion. As well, people are reminded not to leave any person or pet in a closed vehicle for any length of time. The hot, dry weather is also creating problems for farmers. For now, crops are in good shape, but cattle ranchers report a shortage of hay for their herds. How are others dealing with the heat? Some go to outdoor pools. Others, who can afford it, enjoy the comforts of air conditioning in their homes. One alternative to air conditioning for many people is to retreat to their basement, where it can be up to 10 degrees cooler. Let's see what's on TV. Escaping from the heat in Edmonton, Canada, Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. I'm one with 25.
Thank you, Thomas. Meanwhile, the death toll from major floods in India's tourist hotspot, Kerala, has jumped to 164, according to State Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan, issuing a fresh heavy rainfall warning for the battered region. Kerala's government has described the crisis, one of the worst in decades, as, quote, extremely grave, and rescue operations are underway to help thousands who remain trapped by flood waters. The Chief Minister has confirmed 164 deaths. Around 100 people died in the last 36 hours alone. Local reports indicated an even higher toll, with thousands still waiting for relief and rescue across the flood-ravaged state. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that he had discussed the flood situation with Vijayan as more troops and rescue workers were deployed across Kerala. The state, famed for its palm-lined beaches and tea plantations, is always pummeled by the annual monsoon. But this year's damage has been the most severe in almost a century. More than 150,000 people made homeless across the state have moved into some 1,300 relief camps.
A rare rodent species known as a bamboo rat that lives around the Inca ruins in Machu Picchu in Peru has resurfaced after a decade of absence and been photographed for the first time. A specimen of the rodent Dactylomes peruanus was spotted by guards among bamboo trees at the citadel, which is surrounded by a protected area, said the National Service of Natural Protected Areas. The last time the animal was recorded at Machu Picchu was in 2008. The bamboo rat lives in subtropical or wet tropical areas, according to Peruvian authorities. It has also been reported at medium altitude heights on the slopes of the Andes in northern Bolivia. In Peru, the animal is on a list of creatures about which little is known because it is seen so rarely.
A study says middle-aged people who get roughly half their daily calories from carbohydrates live several years longer on average than those with meat-heavy low-carb diets. The findings, published in the Lancet Medical Journal, challenge a trend in Europe and North America towards so-called paleo diets that shun carbohydrates in favor of animal protein and fat. Proponents of these Stone Age diets argue that the rapid shift years ago with the advent of agriculture to grains, dairy, and legumes has not allowed the human body enough time to adapt to these high-carb foods. For the study, receiving less than 40% of total energy intake from carbohydrates qualified as a low-carb regimen, though many such diets reduce the share to 20% or less. At the other extreme, a 70% or higher share of carbohydrates such as pasta, rice, cakes, sugary drinks can also reduce longevity, but by far less, according to the scientists. Low-carb diets that replace carbohydrates with protein or fat are gaining widespread popularity as a health and weight loss strategy, according to lead author Sarah Saddleman, a researcher at the Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston. However, our data suggests that animal-based low-carbohydrate diets might be associated with shorter overall lifespan and should be discouraged. Replacing meat with plant-based fats such as avocados and nuts and proteins such as soy products and lentils reduces the risk of mortality, according to Saddleman. Now, participants filled out detailed questionnaires about their dietary habits, what foods, how much, how often, etc. Now, over a 25-year follow-up period, more than 6,000 of the men and women died. People who got 50 to 55% of their calories from carbohydrates outlived those with very low-carb diets on average by 4 years, and those with high-carb diets by 1 year. A review of medical records for an additional 432,000 people from earlier studies confirmed the results, which are also in line with World Health Organization recommendations. Fibers also help maintain a healthy gut flora, now considered to be a major factor in health and disease. Eagle News International will be right back.
Ugaliin ng pamilya ang responsableng panonood. Teamwork tayo, parents!
Rated G, good for all. Oops, rated PG. Dapat may mga magulang para sagutin ang mga tanong ng kabataan.
Grabe, rated SPG, maselan!
Higpitan ang paggabay.
Pag rated MTRCB, rated responsable.
A joint Korean women's basketball team marked their Asian Games debut Wednesday by pulverizing host Indonesia 108-40, roared on by giddy fans waving unified Korean flags. North Korean Ro Suk-yong, one of three Pyongyang's base players in the away team, top scored with 22 points for the sharpshooting visitors, and fellow Northerner Kim Ye-yeon added 14 in lopsided Group X opener in Jakarta, Indonesia. Around 100 Korean fans in white t-shirts bearing a blue unified Korean flag with the slogan "One Dream, One Korea" serenaded the players and the bang drums as they tried to drown out a wall of noise produced by cymbal-crashing locals. There was a stark contrast between the South Korean players with their dyed hair and trendy bobs and the sensible haircuts of their northern cousins. But the harmony demonstrated on the court suggested they will be medal challengers. North and South Korea are also fielding united teams in the canoeing and rowing at the Asian Games in the latest sign of thawing relationship in the troubled peninsula. The two countries are also set to march together at the opening and closing ceremonies after forming their first ever unified Olympic team, a joint women's ice hockey side for February's Winter Games in Pyeongchang. The Asian Games formally open on Saturday and run until September 2nd. In tennis, Novak Djokovic's third-round struggle with defending champion Grigor Dimitrov was halted by reinforcing the pair to come back on Friday at the ATP WTA Cincinnati Masters. Officials called a halt to a frustrating day on which Roger Federer was never able to take court for his third-round match against Ronaldo Mayer. Wimbledon champion Djokovic is vying to break through for a first Cincinnati win after coming up empty in 5 finals. He lost the first set 6-2 and won the second 6-3 when rain stopped the contest for 90 minutes. When play resumed, Djokovic edged ahead 2-1 in the third, but another storm rolled in, an organizer called a halt. Cincinnati remains the only one of the 9 Masters 1000 events that the Serb star hasn't won. He has lifted trophies at least twice at each of the other 8 events in the Elite ATP Series. In women's third-round action, reigning U.S. Open champion Sloane Stephens was eliminated while Madison Keys, runner-up at the Flushing Meadows last year, moved on. Belgian Elise Mertens scored a second top 5 win for her career, beating Stephen 7-6, 6-2, while Keys rallied to defeat fourth-seeded Wimbledon champion Angelique Kerber 2-6, 7-6, 6-4. Keys next faces Arina Sabalenka of Belarus, who upset French seed Caroline Garcia 6-4, 3-6, 7-5. Petra Kvitova, who toppled Serena Williams in the second round, reached the last 8 with a 6-4, 6-2 win over France's Kristina Mladenovic. These are the stories for EN Sports. I'm Ben Bernaldez and I'm 1 with 25.
Organizers of an exhibition of Banksy in Moscow comment on his statement that he had nothing to do with this event. The Banksy exhibition has been running at the Capital Central House of Artists since the start of June and boasts around 100 original works on loan from galleries and private collectors. But the artist himself said he had no idea the display was taking place after he was sent a picture of a banner advertising the event in Moscow.
Что это успех и своего рода похвала, да, потому что никто другой похвастаться личным комментарием Бэнкси в его собственном инстаграме из организаторов подобных выставок не может.
Я читала о том, что Бэнкси удивился о том, что идет выставка. Мне, на самом деле, мне все равно, честно, потому что я пришла, посмотрела, а бесплатно мне это никто показывать не будет, окей, я за это посмотрела. Как это будет урегулировано с Бэнкси, мне все равно, честно, потому что я получила очень большое удовольствие.
Я думаю, это очередная какая-то коммерческая провокация Бэнкси вокруг этой собственной же выставки. Вот. Я сомневаюсь, что он не в курсе был насчет выставки.
Upon being told it's a ticketed exhibition in Moscow, he replies, "You know it's got nothing to do with me, right? I don't charge people to see my art unless there's a fairground wheel. Tickets to the show are about $10 for weekend admission or about $20 for a VIP tour." Despite Banksy's apparent surprise at the Moscow exhibition, the artist apparently doesn't feel that he has sufficient moral high ground to condemn the event's organizers. Not sure I am the best person to complain about people putting up pictures without getting permission, he mused in the chat exchange.
And finally, if your hot dog is topped with seaweed or noodles, it must be a Japa dog. The creator remembers Anthony Bourdain in the rise of his now famous Japa dog. Kathleen Cruz reports.
Owner of Japa Dog, a Japanese-style hot dog which the late Anthony Bourdain featured in his show No Reservations in Vancouver in 2008, shared with us his memories of the celebrity chef. The renowned chef, culinary adventurer, and TV show host Anthony Bourdain shocked the world of his sudden death at the age of 61. He was a gifted storyteller with unwavering passion to explore different cultures, from fine cuisine to street food, which inspired viewers and entrepreneurs to discover global flavors.
常に笑顔で接してくれたので、すごい素敵な人だなと思いました。最後に彼はサインを本に書いてくれました。プレゼントしてくれました。
Nori Kitamura, owner of Japa Dog, moved to Canada, driven by his ultimate dream of sharing the taste of Japanese food with Canadians. He opened his first stand in 2005, and 3 years later, with its increasing popularity, Anthony Bourdain came to visit Japa Dog's busiest stand in Vancouver. Bourdain brought Norika's business to the international spotlight.
そうですね、彼の番組で取り上げていただいて、すごく世界中の視聴者の人から反響をいただきまして、本当にびっくりし た記憶があります。もちろんカナダはもちろんユナイテッド・ステイツもそうですけど、世界中の視聴者の人から E メールとか電話をいただいた記憶があります。すごく反響に驚きました。
Noriki said that Bourdain's visit resulted to 2 additional food carts in 2008, to 12 food trucks and stalls in Vancouver, Canada, and 2 food carts in Los Angeles, California. He has also seen great potential of opening his food truck business in the Philippines. Asked about Bourdain's shocking death, Japadog's owner has this to say.
悲しかったです。本当にショックで、なぜなら僕たちのまだ本当にここのワンロケーションの時に彼が来てくれたおかげで、僕たちはやっぱり世界中の人たちにジャパドッグを知ってもらえる機会をいただいたと。本当に彼にはすごく夢をもらったところがあるので、本当にショックだったです。ですので、いつかまたジャパドッグを大きくさせて、彼にジャパドッグを見てもらいたいなっていう思いがあったので、本当に今でもショックです。彼が食べていただいたのは黒豚照りマヨと、当時販売してたネギ味噌というターキーの商品ですね。すごくびっくりして、美味しい美味しいと言って食べてくれました。美味しい美味しい。
Reporting for Eagle News, this is Kathleen Cruz. I am 1with25.
Sausages are my favorite. How about you? Yeah.
One of them, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Don't forget.
Lumpiang prito.
Masarap yan. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr. Also check out our boards and pictures on Instagram. I'm Sam Cepeda. Thanks for joining us.
I'm Alma Angeles, and
we're one with 25.